Hello, everybody. Welcome to MSUFCU's Financial Education Seminar Series. We're excited to have you all join us this evening to learn about raising children with financial literacy. These sessions were really created with you in mind to help expand your knowledge of finances, your family's knowledge of finances in this case, and really give you an idea of, what MSUFCU can offer as far as youth accounts go and things like that. If you have any questions or technical issues, you can reach out to me in the chat, and I will try to help you through there. And then if you have any questions, I'll go ahead and address those at the end of the session. But there is a Q&A function at the bottom of your Zoom screen that you can submit any questions for me. And then we'll go ahead and get those answered in the order they were received once the presentation is concluded. All right. So my name is Therese Bacon. I'm a financial educator here at MSUFCU. Today we're going to talk about how to raise financially literate children. I'm going to share some things that I've done with my own children at different ages, some successes, some lessons learned, and give you some of those concrete ideas that you can use with your own children or grandchildren, or any young person in your life, really. Then we'll walk through the youth account options that we offer here at MSUFCU, talk about some of the apps that kids can use to help further their financial education, and different tools and products that come along with those youth accounts here at MSUFCU. All right. So first thing we're going to do here is take a little poll. So let me go ahead and launch this. Can find it. Okay. So it looks like some of you have actually answered those polling questions, but those should pop up on your screen there. We just kind of want to gauge, what your current knowledge about raising children with financial literacy, kind of where you're at with that and what you think, at what age children should begin learning about finances. And then if you do have children of your own, what age did you start actually bringing these concepts to them? So I'll give you a second to answer that. All right, so let's see what some of our answers here that we received from you all. Oops. All right. So we have some answering, as early as 2 or 3, maybe elementary school age, is when you kind of started implementing these ideas, which is great. But yeah, it can start from a very young age. So did you know that in this poll, 82% of parents of kids age 5 to 17 think that financial education starts at home, right? So that's a good number, right? 82% of people know that they probably should start implementing some of these ideas as early as age 5. But does that always happen, right? Do we include our kids in those conversations? Teaching financial literacy at a young age helps children develop healthy, lifelong financial goals. Fun fact here, research shows that children begin developing money habits as early as age 5, and those are some of the habits that they can carry all the way into adulthood, right? So that means that the earlier we start with those simple age-appropriate lessons, the more likely those habits are going to last into adulthood. I remember letting my own children take coins to the credit union coin machine. That was always something really fun. Once they had saved up enough coins, it made saving, just feel fun and grown up, that they were able to go and put the coins in the machine and get the little receipt and then go make their deposit and, get a receipt back that shows their balances. And so, having those experiences from a young age, made them feel more responsible for their money. So here's kind of the roadmap of what we'll go through. So what financial concepts are age appropriate from toddlerhood through the teen years, and what you can start and when. We'll also talk about how to make learning fun and real using everyday life, games, apps. I'll share what kind of worked for my family and give you some ideas there. And then finally, we'll cover what MSUFCU offers with our youth accounts. So different features, apps, tools, resources, kind of how the youth accounts grow with our youth members, and how to get started if you are interested in opening an account for a youth in your life. All right, so we will start with pre-K and younger. So at this stage, it's really just about exposure to, basic money. And then different concepts like needs versus wants. Maybe some basic goal setting. So I know when my kids were little, like age, when they could like talk in full sentences, so maybe like, 3-ish or something, we kind of created this little toy jar where they would put the coins in. Like I said, they would love to go to the coin machine, but they would put the coins or maybe small bills into a jar. When it filled up, we take it to the credit union, get some bigger bills maybe, and then they could actually go to the store and find something that was in their price range. So they learned the patience and the excitement of actually working towards a goal, even from that young of an age. And really, those small lessons laid that foundation for learning about delayed gratification, right? I know we all probably fall into that impulse buying, every now and again, but really, talking to your kids about these things is so important, even from this age, from those pre-K years. Bring them grocery shopping with you. Talk about why we can't get the candy bars and instead we need to get a gallon of milk and why, that's important. They'll be able to see the concept of needs versus wants through that. And then with young elementary, some of the concepts here, once again, needs versus wants, and getting a little more into the prioritization in their own lives. And then money identification and counting. Really, it's a great time here as they're learning math more to really connect numbers with the money. So teach them how to identify different coins, how to count them, start talking about value. One activity I used was letting my child plan how to spend $5 at the dollar store. So they had to make choices. Do they want 5 small $1 toys or do they want 3 toys and maybe a snack of some sort? So, I actually let them think about that, think how they wanted to spend their money and actually make those choices and feel that responsibility for those choices. So it really helped to build those prioritization skills and kind of linking money to the trade-off of spending money, right? To that opportunity cost. And really thinking more long term about it at this age. And then with older elementary, this is when kids can understand making change, from a dollar or $5, $10, and calculating different costs. So I remember giving my children maybe $20 at, it was like a school book fair, right? And kind of letting them, because they bring home the little pamphlet that shows the cost of everything and, circling all the things they want. So if I gave them that $20 limit, to buy books or those different things that they have at those book fairs, they could add it up, maybe even calculate how much tax was going to be included and see exactly what they could, buy with that $20 bill. So that was really important there. Around this age with older elementary, they also can start, managing their own savings account with your help. So tracking different balances, watching those deposits grow, maybe putting money into a higher yielding certificate so they can really see the impact of that compounding interest over time. And then with middle schoolers, they're ready for, a little bit bigger concepts here. So how money earn connects to time and effort and how making thoughtful purchases is important. With my child, we compared the cost of maybe, they wanted a Nike, hoodie or something like that. So comparing that, which those are pretty expensive, to maybe a store brand hoodie that kind of looks the same. And, really, making them realize that, we could actually get two hoodies for the price of this one name brand one, right? So that led to conversations about value, what we value in our life, when it's worth spending more and when it isn't. And this is also a good time to talk about maybe allowances. If you are in a place where you can do that. This is also, middle school, they might be able to start babysitting family friends, little ones, or kids in the neighborhood, or maybe mowing lawns during the summer. Different things that they can do without having like a real part-time job, but where they're able to earn their own money. And then with high school, this is really the transition into adulthood here, right? So we want to focus more on really setting those financial goals and savings goals. Working, a lot of kids want to get a car to drive around by the end of high school, right? So maybe for every dollar that your child saves towards that, you can match it or something like that. So really, making it a fun way to learn how to set goals, reach those goals, and really get that satisfaction out of that. Also understanding the workforce. So when my teen got their first part-time job, after they, received that first paycheck, oops, sorry, after they received that first paycheck, I was able to sit down with them. I think their pay stubs were still online, at this point. It was just in the past 5 or 10 years, but we were able to actually look at their pay stub and see, what deductions were taken out. They're not getting, if they were getting paid $10 an hour, they're not actually coming home with that full $10 an hour, right? Taxes and, so your gross pay versus your net pay and things like that. So different, things with pay that are also important to learn as you're starting to earn money. And then another good thing that I kind of tried to reinforce with my kids was kind of setting up that like 50-30-20 rule where you're setting aside 50% of your check for needs, right? 30% for wants, and then 20% for savings. Usually with high schoolers, there's not a lot that, you're probably paying for food, right? So it would just be kind of the wants that they would be saving for. So really, you could even play with this a little bit more and maybe have them save 50% and then, have 30% or 40% left over for them to spend as they see fit. So that was really important for them to see that connection between work, income, and how that leads to financial independence ultimately. So now we will get into some of our youth account features here. Our youth accounts really aim to give our younger members opportunities for financial education and really beginning to establish that relationship with the credit union. It's also a great way to educate your child on how to handle their own finances and accounts. We do offer different types of youth accounts that kind of match up with the stage that developmentally that the child is in. So for our youngest members, you'll see here on the left, we have the Sweet Pea account, which is ages 0 to 2. So parents or guardians obviously would manage the account at this time and they can make deposits, whenever they'd like. But definitely introduces that idea of saving early. And then we have the Dollar Dog accounts for ages 3 to 6. So this is when kids can kind of start to participate. With the Dollar Dog account, for every $10 deposited into the account, the child will earn a coin, which can then be redeemed within our online account, computer line. There's a little youth store that's connected to youth accounts that have the coins connected to them, where they can cash those in for different prizes. So that's really something fun that kind of motivates kids to save a little bit more. They also, with the Dollar Dog account, will get different things in the mail, like different activity sheets about finances. They're able to participate in different savings contests throughout the year for this age range. So that can be really fun. And then they can use different apps that we offer, which just kind of reinforce those concepts and make the process of learning about finances a little bit more fun. Each account is structured, like I said, really to help you and your child reach those different financial goals, keep you on track with, different milestones that your child is reaching financially. And in order to open a youth account, if you are opening an account for a very small child, ages 0 to 2, you'll need to have a legal parent or guardian on that account with the youth member. They don't need a birth certificate or anything to open it, but we just would need the child's social security number. So some people, right when they give birth to a child, they want to call us the next week and get their first savings account set up. But we will need that social security number in order to create the account. So if you are opening an account for child ages 0 to 2, like I said, they'll have that Sweet Pea account, and then it will grow as the child reaches age 3. Then it will automatically change to that Dollar Dog account. So you don't have to do anything special to make that happen. It just kind of grows as the child grows. And then one of the apps that we have created in conjunction with a team at Michigan State University, the students actually created this for us, but it's called Saving with Piggy. And this really just, it's a pretty simple game where you're putting different coins into the piggy bank. But it helps children at this age kind of identify those coins, maybe just know the difference between, penny, nickel, dime, quarter, right? So it kind of helps them learn that. Also with our youth accounts at this age, I did talk about those certificates offering, a little higher dividends earned. Those can be really important. So at this point, the child probably isn't going to be withdrawing any money. So definitely look into those certificates. We have a really cool one, the 1-year add-on certificate. So that's something that's very unique to MSUFCU. But you can start it with as low as $50. Most certificates have a minimum requirement of 500. So the 1-year add-on certificate is only $50 to start, and then you can make deposits as many times as you want throughout the year, up to $10,000 in deposits. So this makes it a little bit nicer to really get that higher yield from your savings, but not having to put a huge lump sum into it all at once. So those are really good options for our youth members. That's definitely something that I use for my kids, when they were growing at this age before they really needed to access the money for anything. Also, having an account at the credit union does allow you to also open a CESA account. So it's the Coverdell Education Savings Account. So these allow people to save money for their child's education in the future. The contributions are non-deductible, but do feature tax-free, penalty-free withdrawals for certain educational expenses before the beneficiary, your child, reaches age 30. So those can be used for, tuition, books, housing, anything that they might need for that secondary education or trade school. And actually, it can be used from elementary on. So even if there's some of those costs that come in, high school or something, if they are taking college classes, which I know a lot of high school students do these days, if those are costing you, you can use these funds for that as well. And then with the next stage here, ages 7 to 10, they would transition to that Cyber Saver account. So with the Cyber Saver, this is where the child will first have that online access available to them. So they can, create that username and password so that they can log into their account and actually view their balances. They can see how those balances grow, as the savings stay in there and interest is applied, or the dividends are applied at the end of each month. So that's really fun. When the child realizes, oh, I'm getting free money just for keeping my money in this savings account, so that's pretty cool. They can also explore how to pay with a card here. At this age, we do offer a prepaid Visa card, which can be a nice initial step. Since you would control the predetermined amount that they would have on that card, but just gives the child some experience with using a card. And then once your child is 11 years old, their account will change to a Money Club account. So this account offers all the previous features that I've discussed, but they can now sign up for e-alerts to help them maintain their account balance. So maybe it would show every time there's a withdrawal or something like that. Kind of get used to getting those e-alerts. They can also open a checking account at this age. with a debit card. So that's another thing that I know, many children or many parents that have middle school age children, um, you know, even though they're that age, they are still using a debit card even at school or what have you. So can be very important in this day and age to have an electronic form of payment even at this age. Um, Also, let's see, with the apps that apply for this age, we have the Savings Draggy and the Saving Magic. So Saving Draggy is recommended for youth ages 5 to 10 and teaches more core concepts of earning and saving, strategic planning. And in this game, children attempt to save a baby dragon named Draggy by visiting different stores and locations where they're challenged with different money decisions. So it kind of gives them that chance to put all that knowledge that you've instilled in them to work here in this game. And then Saving Magic, also good for ages 5 to 13, teaches them about earning dividends while saving. To purchase different items in the future. So, in this magical world, dragons are stealing magic from the world, and it's up to the player to stop them. So, children climb ancient towers, they free the magic back into the world by earning, saving, and spending money wisely. Coins that they save accrue interest even when they're not playing, allowing them to experience a sense of dividend earning. So that's a pretty cool app there as well. And then once your child turns 14, their account converts to a CU Succeed account. And then once they're 15, they would be eligible for a youth Visa card. Our youth Visa offers, it's a really great opportunity for teens to get that idea of how a line of credit actually works, and how, even before they're able to establish a credit score, that they're able to work towards building up that credit so that once they turn 18, they will have a good credit history built up. So these Visa cards have a maximum limit of $500, and you can choose from our low rate Platinum Visa or our 1% cash back earning Platinum Plus Visa. And the youth visas do require a co-borrower, and that interest rate would be based on the co-borrower's credit score at that time. And then once the teen turns 18, they can apply to have the co-borrower removed and possibly have their limit increased if it fits into their own budget. We also offer a free app for our teens called Dream Racer. So this game is recommended really for, ages 13 to 18 here, but teaches more core concepts, saving, budgeting, managing monthly payments. The player begins the game with money and savings, but needing to upgrade their race car with the help of a loan. And throughout the game, the player must make their monthly payments while managing other, household expenses and expenses that come up in life. So really kind of gives them that, first experience of maybe being out on their own, or having their first place or having to get a car loan and make that monthly payment. So pretty cool games that that the students at MSU have helped create for the credit union. And then in addition to accounts, we offer Financial 4.0. So you can scan that QR code there on the left to bring you to that website. So this is really our online education hub for young people. Teens really especially like this because it feels really geared towards them. There's different blog posts, podcasts, different calculators, and budgeting tools. So, the example there on your screen, how much will my certificate be worth? So, if I keep this amount of money in the certificate for a year at this certain rate, how much am I going to earn by the end of this year, right? Or if I needed to get my first car loan, is the monthly payment going to fit into my budget? So the calculators can be really helpful, not only for teens, but for adults too. But yeah, definitely, check out that Financial 4.0. There's just a ton of information available there for young people. And then also for, younger kids, we have the Funtivity Zone. So this is something that we've created, during 2020 when kids were stuck at home, not being able to go to school, and we weren't able to be out in the community spreading financial education. So we had to kind of come up with something new. And the Funtivity Zone was born. So there's a ton of, different videos that break down some of these more complex financial concepts. into short, kid-friendly lessons, covering topics like budgeting, introduction to credit, then like back to those simple things like needs versus wants, and just a whole bunch more. So if you want to scan that QR code there, that will bring you to the Funtivity Zone. But definitely check that out. Really great information there for our younger members. So some things to keep in mind as we wrap up here. Just remember financial literacy is a journey. It's not a one-time conversation, right? So really start, as young as you can. If your kids are already in middle school and maybe you haven't brought up some of these concepts, hopefully you've learned some things that maybe you can put into action now. But really start small, make it fun, use those resources that are available to you. Even if you aren't a member with us yet, you can still use all those free resources that are on our website as you see fit. Those are really available to anybody. And, here at MSUFCU, we're definitely here to support you with your accounts, provide you those tools, and really, most importantly, to keep learning about financial education. That's our number one goal, definitely. So if you did want to open an account, you can definitely, check us out online. You can apply there with your youth. You can go into a branch, which I would definitely suggest. That's something that I did with my own kids, really to make them feel included and responsible as part of, this account ownership. Brought them in there, had them sign the application and all of that. It really gave them that sense of responsibility. All right. We had a question come through. Will we receive a copy of this? And yes, I'll go ahead and just send the Zoom link to the recording to everyone that attended tonight. So you can refer back to that. It will just be a link with a code that you can access the recording. And you can also go to our YouTube channel. There's a ton of other recorded seminar series sessions there. You can just search MSUFCU seminar series on YouTube and that will pop up. But I think actually we have last year's session, the same session from last year is available there as well. But I'll go ahead and make sure I get that recording to you all. And on our website, if you do want to check out the youth accounts, you just go to our website and under the accounts tab right on the main page, it will open up and you can just choose youth. And you can see all the different options that we've talked about tonight. I also wanted to let everyone know about some other upcoming seminar series options here. So for the rest of September, tomorrow we have Silver Insurance presenting on Medicare 101. So I know this is something that I've definitely had to do a lot more of learning as far as this goes because my parents are, aging and getting to a point where they kind of need more assistance. They're in their 80s. They need more assistance with kind of choosing a Medicare supplement plan and all those things. So kind of a crash course into that. So if you have anyone that's kind of entering that phase of life, or if you're helping, your own aging parents with that, might be a good seminar to check out. And then next week, September 25th, we have Aiding Your Aging Parent with Estate Planning. So that's actually presented by someone that works in elder law. Great. She's a great attorney, Michelle Lane, and she is just pretty awesome at answering very specific questions that people have. So it's really nice. You can come to this session and ask questions directly to an attorney that's gonna know the exact answers for you. So that'll be a really good one to take advantage of as well. And then finally, on Tuesday, September 30th, we'll be talking about money and relationships. So how our view of money and how we handle it, and maybe the downfalls that some of us may have with them and how that plays into our interpersonal relationships and our families and households. So hopefully that will be another one that you will join us with. So thank you all for being here. As you exit out tonight, there will be a short survey that pops up. So go ahead and take that so we can get your feedback on tonight's session and maybe get some ideas for different topics that you might want to see in the future on seminar series. And we'd be happy to review those and see what we can do as far as adding some new topics that you might want to hear about. So thank you all once again for being with us tonight, and we will see you at another seminar series soon. Thank you.